I'm Elizabeth Brock. I'm director of the Center for Public Television and Radio. We are part of the College of Communication and Information Sciences here on campus at the University of Alabama. I have the pleasure of knowing Tina Turner because she is a reporter for Alabama Public Radio and has also hosted a TV series for Alabama Public Television. She's a woman, obviously, of many talents. I recognized pretty quickly after meeting her that Tina's an old soul. She's creative, she's industrious, she has a lot of ambition, but she brings a creative, kind of different point of view to virtually everything that she does, very mature point of view. It's my delight and my honor to introduce you and welcome to the stage, Tina Turner.
Hello, everybody. Okay, my name is Tina, and that was so nice. That woman, I look up to her a lot. She actually produced Bill Nye the Science Guy, fun fact about her. Okay, so yes, my revolutionary idea is journalism should go beyond reporting a problem. But before I get into that, a little bit about myself. So, if you haven't guessed it, I'm a news media major. I'm a senior. I have a minor in theater. I was born in Birmingham, but I grew up in Prairieville, Louisiana. I work as a student reporter for APR, which is an NPR affiliate, and I'm the station manager for the student-run radio station WVUA-FM. A fun fact about me is I taught a magic trick class to kids 2 summers ago. So if you can find me later, I'll show you a magic trick. Okay, like the slide says, everything for me changed in middle school. And it wasn't because I went through puberty or, had my first kiss. That didn't happen. It was because I read this book here by Oprah Winfrey, The Uncommon Wisdom of Oprah Winfrey. And it's a memoir. And it talks about how she got started in the business, working in radio, and then eventually moving on to be a local broadcast news anchor. But she didn't really like her time as a news anchor, and this is why. She said, I hated doing broadcast news because I was going into people's homes and telling them bad news. I feel that, Oprah. And a lot of other people do. I mean, how many of us think that the news is just like scary and depressing most of the time? Okay, I see hands, yes. Many Americans do. And according to the American Psychological Association, more than half of Americans say the news causes them stress, and many report feeling anxiety, fatigue, or sleep loss as a result. That is messed up. People are literally losing sleep because the news is so scary. But it's not just because the news is so scary and depressing. I think it's because the way the news is presented is so scary and depressing. Okay, yeah, we live in the digital age, right? How many of us, by show of hands, use our phones as our main source to get the news? Everybody's hand is going up. That makes a lot of sense. And it's cool that we have access to media all the time. But, when we're scrolling, and we see some things that look like this, 2 U.S. service members killed in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan, or murder-suicide that killed 3 outside Oklahoma Walmart in a domestic dispute. I mean, what do we do with this information? How are we supposed to feel with this information? I don't believe that bad news, is supposed to just leave us feeling bad. I think that it could leave us feeling more informed and therefore enlightened. Okay, a good example of this is another article on CBS News. So it talks about these children in Madagascar who are, they're being used to mine mica, which is a product or a rock used in many American-made products. And it's so disappointing, hearing all of these stories about how these children are working underground in these hazardous situations. But the way this article goes about investigating it is so artistic, and it gets to the bottom of it, and it kind of points a finger at who's to blame for this. And that's the kind of stuff I like to see. When there's a problem, we should know who to point the finger to. We shouldn't just be okay with knowing that there is a problem. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Okay. So this might look familiar to you guys. What is this? What is this? I'll tell you. It's a story map, okay? Yeah, so we probably saw this in elementary school when we were reading books like Shiloh or Friendo. Anybody read those? Yes. I never actually read them. I bought them. I made my mom buy them. Yeah, so we have the setting, the rising action, the central characters, climax, falling action, conflict, solution, theme. These are all very normal ways of going about presenting a story. And this is what I'm used to when telling a story. But when it comes to telling a news story, it's a little different. We don't really go too in depth with talking about the rising action, the events leading up to it, because that's just like a whole different side of journalism. That would be investigative reporting, which is what I really like. Usually, we like to have stories focus on the climax and the conflict. That's like clickbait, you know? We hear the story, and then we see the conflict, and like, ooh, that's the juicy part of the story. That's what a lot of headlines are made up of, things to sensationalize news and kind of make us feel nervous and worried in order to click on the link. But I don't think that's the way to go anymore. Okay, you see, I have developed what you might call a scientific formula. So you guys know the if-then scenario. You have a problem you need to research. You say, if this is happening, then this must be happening. That's how I like to go about investigating a news story. So I say, well, if this problem is going on, then it must root from here. It's not really a problem-oriented mindset like we might be used to. It's a problem-solution-based mindset, like a scientist would have. They see a problem, they want to solve it, and because they are trying to solve it, they are diminishing ways of this problem ever happening again. I think we can do this in journalism. Okay, yes, times like these. That is a podcast that I am working on with Alabama Public Radio. So basically, I'm going around the state of Alabama, and I'm talking to different churches, no matter the denomination. I'm doing this because I believe that in Alabama, the Bible Belt, separation of church and state does not necessarily exist. And you can agree or disagree, but that's just how I feel. And because of this, it's brought me to my if-then statement. So I said, if Alabama, the Bible Belt, is causing some systemic issues, then I should probably be investigating the church. And it's working. I'm finding a truth and a light in these systemic problems I'm talking about. Just maybe I'm not getting a solid answer, but I'm unpacking what the mind behind these religious figures, religious leaders are, and it's bringing me to some interesting conclusions that I am going to eventually share with you guys. So follow me on my Instagram and Twitter and stuff. Yes. Okay. So there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is there's always going to be bad news, and that is okay because that is still news. But the good news is there's people like Oprah in the world, people who want to change our point of view, how we have news presented. So, Oprah had a pretty big show. It's called The Oprah Show. And she thought that maybe it's time to have a conversation about these problems. She talked about good stuff, she talked about bad stuff, but when she talked about bad stuff, we really got to understand what it is she was talking about. That's why she's so rich, because, well, maybe that's not why exactly she's so rich, but it contributed. So many people trusted in her and believed in her, and they could look to her to understand the world more. So that's what I want you guys to do. Okay, yeah. So remember when I said Americans are super stressed out, more than half Americans are super stressed out about the news? Well, like I am trying to do, and I'm encouraging other journalists to do, is to take the time to unpack and understand a story. And you guys should do the same, because taking your time to understand a problem is a form of self-care. You're not just scrolling through Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, I don't know, and seeing all of these problems. If you click the article and you see it's just not benefiting, ignore it. If you see it's not getting to the root of the problem, you can ignore it. You can know it's there, but you don't have to get stressed about it. Look to the articles or look to the news channels that care about getting to the root of the problem, because these are the people who care about the world and how we all benefit. So, thank you.